4 of F1 Racing is brought to you by the Hyundai Sonata Hybrid and is presented for Seafair by Sickle Steel Crane. Experience the difference. Experience Sickle Steel Cranes.
Here it is. We are within 10 seconds. That flag can drop anytime in that 10 seconds. The drivers have no idea when it's going to go. They've got their hand on the
flag is down. Flag is down.
And we got Terry Rinker looked like got left at the dock. We got Stephen Lee in the red boat got off really good. And now we got Tim Siebel, but Tim Siebel on the outside is in a different boat than we saw him in the other heats. What's going on with that, Billy?
He's in his backup boat. Both he and Greg Foster have 2 rigs here, and they're just like they're fine-tuning both boats so they can pick out what they want to run for the final. In case they have a problem with their primary boat, they can jump right in their backup boat.
Now we saw a boat there left at the dock. What usually is a problem? Why does a boat not fire and leave, Billy?
Well, it can be, it's a continued flow fuel injection system. If you get air in there, it can cause it to stumble or not start. And it can be, it's a number of things. So sometimes the driver accidentally hits the kill switch and pulls the cap off. I mean, it's hard to say.
All right. You see Tim Siebold leading in a different boat. Now you may say, why is he running a different boat? Well, you can throw one of the heats out. So they're going to run a number of heats, and you can take your worst heat and throw it out. So a lot of them will use a different boat, and I think that's a different boat right there with Greg Foster as well, right? They're both running backup boats.
Yes, they're both running their backup boats.
Oh, he went right by him like he was tied to a pole there.
This is a boat that Foster's been driving that style of boat for probably the last 10 years when he was racing. He hasn't been in a boat in 2 years.
Wow. So you're seeing, will they decide after running both of the boats which boat they'll run in the final, which one they like the best, or is this just a test session?
I think they'll decide after this race or after this heat or possibly heat 5. It's just going to depend.
All right, you've got Greg Foster in the red and white boat there, Tim Siebold there in the Fox Plumbing boat. There's 1 and 2. Greg Foster now looks like he's got a pretty clean lead.
And there's
now,
Chris Fairchild.
Chris Fairchild in the Kroger's boat. Chris must have not gotten off the dock so good, but he's been fast all weekend, and now he's starting to put pressure on Greg Foster.
Yeah, Chris has not been on song, as they say, this weekend as far as getting off the dock. So maybe he's going to figure something out. And he's
look at him come between. There's Greg Foster coming between Tim Siebold and Greg Foster. Chris Fairchild, also an aggressive guy, is he not?
Yes, he is. Yes, Chris is an extremely good driver and a little wild, just about like Foster. He's probably pretty close to a Greg Foster as far as the way he pushes a boat.
Look how little drag is on those boats, right up until they get to the corner. Now that right that you just saw him go by there, that's not a really hard corner. They don't really push the bow of the boat down too hard there, do they, Bill?
No, that's kind of a chicane in there, and that back stretch, or actually it's the front stretch along the beach. And they can kind of float that through there. Depending on how they exit pin 4 up at the other end, if they come off close, they can kind of clip that chicane buoy and hardly have to bend the boat. Not like the one here in the pit turn.
And there you see Chris Fairchild leading. Didn't start off the dock all that well, but there you see him leading, and Tim Siebold's giving chase, as well as Greg Foster. There's your leader again, Chris Fairchild. Greg Foster, and he's got the inside line there. Look how the boats, the minute they complete the corner, the bow just literally leaps into the air to get that boat out of the water, get the drag off the boat so they can get down that straightaway and accelerate.
You've got a boat that'll run 130 to 135 miles an hour. It only weighs 900 pounds, so they'll fly very easily.
You know what's interesting, Bill, as a driver, an ex-driver, really what makes the boat challenging is not how fast it goes, but the power to weight ratio. An unlimited hydroplane weighs 5,000 pounds and goes 190, but these boats go 130, pretty darn close. But how much do they weigh?
950. They have to weigh 1,155 pounds at the end of the race with the remaining fuel and the driver and his jacket and helmet just the way they come out of the water. And you got Terry Rinker closing up behind them.
So the power to weight ratio is really much greater on these than the unlimited hydroplane, meaning the amount of horsepower per pound. So these boats are tricky. Wow, look at Greg Foster got that boat to accelerate really well. When you get into the corner, how soon are you on that up button to get that bow free?
Basically, once you get that boat set and you get the arc of the corner, and you get just at the apex of the corner, you start on the out trim. If you trim it out too quick, Chip, though, it's like it'll break loose and slide sideways. So you got to be careful on that. But again, they run 24-volt trim out. It'll go from all the way in to all the way out in 3.2 seconds.
Greg Foster on the inside, Chris Fairchild in the middle, Tim Siebold on the outside, and Terry Rinker in the yellow boat, not that far behind. And we've seen Terry come from behind all weekend long, so don't count him out. There you see Greg Foster on the inside, and Tim Siebold goes around both of them on the outside in the left north corner.
Tim had a good run on him there, and again, this race course is very difficult to select the propeller for because you have the right hands and the short chutes, so you need a lot of acceleration. On the long chute, you need top end, so it's a difficult course to set a boat up for.
So whatever propeller you put on the boat that's going to give you more top speed at the end of the straightaway is actually going to hurt your acceleration.
That's true. It hurts your acceleration, and the way these guys start, it's a drag race to the first turn. So you need the punch to get off the dock. You hope the thing fires, you know, and then you try to run it as loose as you can. And this morning in the first heats, we had a lot of wind. They were going right off the start dock into about a 10 to 15 mile an hour wind.
Tim Siebold out in front, but he's getting a lot of pressure on the inside from Chris Fairchild. Looks like Chris is going to go by, and he's also on the inside for that left-hand corner up in the north end of the lake. And on the outside, pushing hard is Greg Foster. And look at, there he is again, Terry Rinker in that yellow boat. You think he's nowhere, but somehow, some way, as they go around the right turn on the west side of the course, Terry Rinker is back up in it, and you're seeing Chris Fairchild leading right now. Look how far the bow's up. See the Spunson dig in there as he makes that right turn, and then back up again. The bow's going to come down to make that left turn. But somebody went around him on the outside. It looks like it's probably Tim Siebold.
I don't know. I was worried about Tim there because he could have been the meat in the sandwich because all around him are 100% composite boats. And Tim is running a wood boat with a composite midsection. So if he gets a little love tap from one of these guys, he would end up with about a 6-foot hole in the boat.
So you're telling me that if I have a composite boat, I can push and shove a little more and not do damage than a wood boat?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Composite boats are stronger and they're also lighter. But because that's why we have the minimum weight at the end of the race to make it a little more level playing field.
Greg Foster's got his mirrors full of Tim Siebold right now. Tim Siebold's got the advantage going in that corner on the inside. Here comes Tim up the inside. He's going to try to duck underneath Chris Fairchild. Is Chris going to leave him room? Barely.
Well, I would say, yeah.
Tim Siebold comes out right with him, and it looks like he got the bow up in the air quicker and got the boat to accelerate quicker.
Well, it's close. It's going to be very close heat, that's for sure. And look at Foster. There's Foster right at the end, too. I mean,
Foster has been out of a boat for 2 years, but it doesn't look like he's missed a beat. That's Chris Fairchild in the Kroger's boat. Greg Foster chasing, giving chase. I can't imagine Bill doing a 9, 12, or 24-hour race in one of these.
Well, they're fun to drive.
They look fun to drive, and here are the results of Heat 4A for your F1 prop boats. It's the Seaway Marine, followed by Mercury Racing, Fox Plumbing, Amsoil Synthetics, and Bubba Burgers. Well, that sounds good right now. Those are the results of Heat 4A.
Heat 4 of F1 Racing has been brought to you by the Hyundai Sonata Hybrid.